Okay, good evening. It is 7:30 on Thursday, August 20th, 2026. We are in the Great Hall on the second floor of 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. This is a meeting of the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Halifax. This meeting has been posted in accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20B, and pursuant to Chapter 30A, Section 20F. Notice is being made that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on Area 58 Community Access Channel. The board chair reasonably anticipates that the following matters will be discussed and or voted on at this meeting. Agenda items may be taken out of order for time management considerations. And as we always do, for those that are willing and able, could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And before we start on the printed agenda, the Board of Selectmen would just like to take a moment to recognize the loss that the community has experienced in the last week or so. Riley Botto has passed away, and unfortunately there is a vigil at the same time as our meeting here tonight, which was scheduled in conjunction with this meeting or at the same time as this meeting, which will prevent us from attending. But we certainly wanted to acknowledge her passing, express our sincere and extreme condolences to her family on their devastating loss. And similar to what's happening across the street and a few doors down, we would like to take a moment of silence in memory of Riley. Thank you, and continued best wishes to the Botto family, and again, sorry for your loss. We just have one agenda item tonight, and that is an interview with Darlene Sullivan for potential appointment as the Halifax Interim Town Administrator. Darlene, thank you for being here tonight. Just by way of introduction, at the far end of the table we have Board of Selectmen Administrative Assistant Pamela McSherry, and to her left, Selectman Jonathan Seelig, Selectman Bill Smith, and I am Tom Pratt. So we thank you for being here tonight. Look forward to having an interview and some questions and back and forth. And then, the board will talk about it and we'll go from there. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes. Why don't you just open up, if you don't mind, by telling us a bit about yourself, personally, professionally, whatever you'd like to share.
Okay. Thank you. Well, first, thank you for taking the time this evening to interview me, Chairman Pratt, and Select Board Member Smith and Seelig. Happy to be here tonight. Really excited to kind of just go over some of my skill sets, some of what I think I can bring to Halifax, to the community, to be of help, and go over some of my experience and what I kind of bring here. I'm happy to answer any questions, as you just mentioned, and it's a two-way conversation. It's got to be a good fit for you and for me and for the community. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you to anyone who's watching as well.
Sure.
Residents of Halifax. So again, as you mentioned, my name's Darlene Sullivan. I have had probably over 30 years of 20 years municipal experience, but over 30 years of management experience. I worked in the private sector. I worked for Verizon well before it was called Verizon, and all the way through. It was many name changes over the years, but nonetheless, I had worked my way up through Verizon. I was in management for many years. I was with them for 16 years, and in customer billing operations, I had many people reporting to me, and union environment, all of that type of stuff. Had a great experience with Verizon, and then as happens with all of us municipal folks that are here that end up catching the bug of wanting to work in a municipality and in this setting, I ended up switching careers, and I started off with assessing. I had, life changes going on, so it was worked out well, and so I started my way off in municipal environment in the assessing. So I got my certificate, got certified as an assessor, was the assistant to the assessor, and then moved along to treasurer collector, and was treasurer collector for most of my municipal career in both Hanover and in Norwell. Have been through many things that you guys see in front of you, but behind the scenes, on boots on the ground type deal. The debt, the borrowing, reconciliations, cash. So I get all the stuff that keeps this place ticking and is keeping us in good order with the auditors, with the DOR, all of that. AAA bond rating have been an integral part of maintaining that. have been a strong part of creating policies. So then, moving along, made my way up and enjoyed my time in Norwell. Was finance director, treasurer collector, and assistant town administrator, and then ultimately town administrator. So I want to say probably the way that I manage or what I kind of bring to the table, I'm a person I'm a problem solver just by nature, could be at home or at work. So it's just something that is my nature. So I enjoy challenges. I enjoy when things are coming across my desk that need to be fixed, tweaked, improved. I manage with respect, first and foremost, professionalism, empathy, and love customer service. I was customer service throughout my whole career in Verizon, and obviously working for municipality, we're here, we work for the community, for the residents. So first and foremost are the people that we're trying to maintain a really great community and deliver what the community enjoys about Halifax, and try to get there and maintain it and do it in a fiscally responsible manner. And and break down silos. I know if I were to come here, my first order of business would be pull all the department heads together. I'd be also meeting with them individually, with various board and committee members and chairs, and just really getting a feel for what's working, and I know that I'll say this up front, I know you guys have been through some transition. So your department heads and your boards and committees are like, here we go again, right? But I promise that I will, no matter what, if I'm your person, that I will not leave you hanging. I communicate. So I will communicate throughout my tenure, throughout every process. You're gonna know exactly where I stand. I'm a very honest, straightforward person. What you see tonight is what you're gonna get. I will not leave you hanging. I will make sure that, again, I'm probably jumping a little bit because I'm sure you're gonna have questions, but if I were your candidate as interim, it's a really good opportunity, I think, for Halifax and for myself to say, hey, is this our person? How is this going? Oh, we're really enjoying these things about this person. Or, we'd like it if you did this X, Y, Z, right? So it gives an opportunity for feedback and to see if I could possibly even be a good fit for longer than interim. But if that was not the case, I would absolutely, like I did with Norwell, I gave them like over 6 months notice, and would never leave them in the lurch, wanted to get them through the budget, wanted to balance, wanted to leave them with everything wrapped up with a bow, a good budget forecast for the next 5 years, and a plan to navigate through, what's been rough waters for a lot of different towns, not just, I'm sure, Halifax and Norwell. It's just, there's a lot of budget pressures that outside of, when we're dealing with inflation and all that, but we have fixed costs that have been a huge pressure on all of our budgets. We've got health insurance and pension assessments, and for Norwell it was trash and recycling. We need to control those costs. Utilities, we control those costs. So I didn't need to digress too much into this, but I do bring a wealth of financial background, municipal finance background. I have a deep understanding of how our finances work, can help navigate, and I think hopefully be a good mentor as well for your finance team, treasurer collector, and your accountant, and your assessor, and all of those folks. And I guess I'll volley it back to you guys. I don't want to take up too much.
Okay. Sure. Thank you for that. I guess that's just the first thing. You touched on leadership style a little bit, so we can circle back if needed on that. But if hired, and if this is a good fit, how quickly would you think that you'd be able to assess, the current direction that might be needed, in terms of our financial and operational status, the things that are working, the things that are not, how quickly would that, picture become clear to you?
We've got a couple things going on. I know you have a November town meeting, so that's going to be happening duly. I'm going to be working with the town clerk and capital budget committee, right, to make sure that we have a good warrant and we get that out in time and everything's smooth. But in terms of the budget, first thing that I'm going to do, and I understand your financial software as well, we're going to I would like to go back and do a 4 to 5 year budget to actual previous, to see where we were really at, where we needed budget transfers. Let's budget closer to, reality if we can, and just see what's going on there. Formulate and I understand it's under the finance committee, but we'll be working close with Jim and with the rest of the team on the finance committee. But I would like to see if we can roll out a really good budget calendar, get this data dump. I could probably do it within the month. So I would say that October, if nothing crazy, we have other priorities and initiatives, or, oh my goodness, is happening, I would say that I probably need about a month to really be able to deliver something to you guys. But I would be talking to you before that. So I'd like to pull together a template. Prior years, see where we're at, pencil in as best as I can, looking at history, but also understanding, I know who to call for and where to go for my resources to make good estimates on local aid and on various other items that will still be questionable till the numbers roll in later in the winter. But we could build some good estimates in there, and then build out a forecast as well as to what's been going on. So I would like to give you a 5-year forward-looking forecast, but I really want to get a history so I can make good estimates moving forward. And I'll be leaning into and asking questions of, departments, intimately, good questions, and finance committee as well.
Okay.
So hopefully within the month.
Okay. I have a bunch. I don't want to take anybody's. I don't know if you want to rotate down.
You want to rotate?
Yeah, why don't you
Just
guys-
so
yeah.
you don't get all the good
That-
ones, right?
that's
That's not
fine.
fair.
That's fine.
If you steal all the good questions
I'll
out of it.
defer to you guys. Go
All
ahead.
right. I was just gonna, Darlene, I think in Norwell it's a 5-member select board, am I
Yes,
correct? So
yeah.
here it's 3, so it's tough because if 2 of us are together, it's a quorum. So how do you see handling communication with the board? Do you have a preferred style that you like to use? Just your relationship, I guess, with the select board.
I understand what your question is. I would say my style, but it may not be your style, so I'd be leaning into your preferred methods. But I would probably lean into the chair first on some things, just say, hey, heads up, this is something that I'm dealing with today, don't worry about it, here's the resolution, or do you agree with the resolution? Heads up. I want me to apprise the other 2 members today, I'll give them a call. I may call you individually just to give you an update. I could also give you a weekly update, but some things you may not want, on a, printed update. Some things are sensitive, right? It could be a labor issue, it could be a legal issue, or those types of things. So, certain things I could give you an update that's more like an email every week or something like that. I'm not going to say that you don't get crazy and that you don't run out of time sometimes. So, I would tell you guys, hey, I'm going to give you a verbal. I don't have time to get this out this week in writing, beautifully. But there's always goals. I can try to get better or see what you guys enjoyed. But I would start with the chair, and then I would make phone calls if I had to.
Great, thanks. Bill, anything?
I'm sure you dealt with them in the past, like in Norwell, aggressive citizens. How do you handle the aggressive citizen that comes in and it's confrontational and?
I appreciate, as crazy as it is, I appreciate it because I was in assessing and I was a collector, right? And I was a treasurer and I was in customer service in general. So honestly, for the most part, people are coming in, they're upset about something. They want to be heard. So the first approach, obviously, it's fundamental, but it's really and truly listen. Really hear them, listen, take down information. Try to answer them if you can write them, but if not, get back to them with an answer if I don't have a resolution at that point. Sometimes in the end, whatever resolution it may be great and they might be happy, or it could be, hey, this is the situation, this is the deal, and unfortunately, whatever. As long as people, I think, understand the process and know that you're telling them the truth and that it's the way it is, they always usually turn around. So it's definitely listen and respond calmly. Don't feed into the energy. Try to de-escalate as best as you can. And I would say, for the most part, always that it works. People in general, they don't want to come in yelling at you. They end up. I've had people, shake your hand and say, "Geez, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come in so heated." So, it's fine. We're all human. I'm not perfect either, right? So I try to be in work, right? But
So this is an especially late meeting for us. I can't say that we don't always go this late, but we don't usually start this late. Board of Selectmen select board meetings are every other Tuesday, typically at 6 o'clock. The previous town administrator, under that regime, we had executive where needed prior, and that would start at 5:30 or 5:45. Most recently, we started at 6 and went to executive. Sometimes they're fairly quick, sometimes they last a long time.
Yeah.
Typically, what has happened since I've been on the board is that the town administrator, where possible, met with us as part of that meeting. And
I would just be there for all of them.
Sure. And then similarly, if needed, if the finance committee had a spot
Yep.
for you at their meeting, or, another board or committee asked for you to be available, generally speaking, with notice, you're available
Absolutely.
at night?
It's
Okay.
my job.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
And then, as you mentioned before, we have a theoretical special town meeting in November, and then our regular town meeting is in May, and you indicated that you would be available as an interim if chosen
Yes.
through the fiscal year of June
Yes.
30?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, just want to clarify those two things. Bill?
In Norwell, were you ever part of a First Amendment audit when they came?
Yeah, we were part of that. And we had a few new people too. So for the most part, they go well, because just treat them as you would anyone else. There are definitely some good little presentations that you can give out to folks. So I just recently, again, we had some turnover, and I made sure that we had HR, so I made sure that HR get this out to everyone, make sure everyone's covered again. So yeah, they can be challenging, but it is what it is. We're a public building, and
Right, but there should be places that they can't go, employees only.
yeah, you can put signs up and you can
Signs up
do
and
those
stuff like
types of
that.
things. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I don't have a problem with them.
I've been through a couple of those, and they didn't go very well.
They like to push buttons,
Oh, yeah.
and they want that, right? So I think if everyone's prepped and they know that they want, don't give it to them.
Right.
Just treat them like you want to be treated, and if someone's being disrespectful, just, I'm sorry, and this is it, and calm, and if not, get your supervisor, your boss, or your town administrator. I'm happy to deal with them. I don't shy away. And I'm also very professional, but I do not shy away from tough conversations or dealing with issues.
Darlene, you have a lot of impressive experience. If you could just speak to your experience with town meeting prep, in your years of working as an assistant town administrator and town administrator, what your timeline generally is. Ours is usually the second Monday in May.
Yep.
So just kind of I know it's a little early, but a rough idea of how you would handle, our town meeting if you were the candidate. And also, I know you guys handled an override, so if you could just speak to your town meeting experience and your override experience.
Sure, okay, I'll kind of break them out.
Yeah,
So in
absolutely.
general, town meeting, if we weren't having the special, this fall, I would be starting the budget process sooner than later right now anyways. In the town, I would be doing a budget memo, but I understand the finance committee would be sending the budget memo. I believe in Halifax, so the budget was under me with an advisory board, and of course the select board, and all of that was, we had a lot of checks and balances, but ultimately it was under me, so I would do the budget memo. So we would get a budget memo out, probably in October maybe, if we could do earlier, great. If not, we want that by, I would say, October. Start to meet with the departments. I'm sure finance committee's gonna have liaisons, so, meet with them. I would like to try to meet with them to deliver on what you're saying, a preliminary budget forecast, preliminary budget info, pulling together the framework to be able to give to the finance committee and to the select board. So, that should all be happening in October, November timeframe, December. Capital budget should probably be kicking off sometime, I would say, and December. I know that you may have a time in addressing those things, but I would say we want capital budget meetings as well. Everything's starting to meet in January, February with those committees to make sure that anything that's going to be on the warrant, and I'll back up to say, we typically opened our warrant in January and closed it after a few weeks, maybe beginning of February or so. So we'd open it, we would close it.
That's earlier than we usually do.
Yeah,
I
we'd
like
open
that.
it, we would close it, then you know what's in front of
Yeah.
you. If citizens petitions are coming out, you have time to
great.
work with them, and all of that. So by that time, you kind of need that, because now we're trying to make sure that we've got everything set. We have certain articles that we call our capital. So our Article 3 was capital always. Article 2 was always the budget. Doesn't mean it's the same here. Go with the flow. But we want to be working on all of that so we can be starting to draft up the warrant articles, getting everything through Finance Committee, through the select, and in front of the Select Board, in front of various committees, to make sure that everything's approved, everyone's taken their votes, planning's referred things back if they need to, like we have time to do all of that. And then we're drafting, so I'm probably drafting, I'd like to have everything done by March 31st, and I'm talking like last meetings are done. We've met with advisor, we're done, that's like the blessing, because I needed to make sure that I drafted the warrant. So I'm making sure that we drafted the warrant, I'm working with town council, I'm checking language, I'm making sure that if we have a borrowing, all that stuff's back. So I am working on that for maybe a week or two, and I usually want to have that warrant in the mail by by the second week in April. Sometime it's going to the printer, and then the printer will review it, get back to me. I'm like walking you through all the details, but the
Sure.
printer will then review it,
Yeah,
get
no,
back
that's
to
great.
me, and we've got that in the mail and
Ready to
blessed.
Good.
So that's the typical. We're starting the budget stuff. We're starting to kick off those group meetings with, with the departments, because people know what they're going to put forth. February probably, with most of the committees, after the warrant closes. If in an override year, it's so tough because my first override, I think if I got constructive feedback initially was, we should have called this so much sooner in the fall and said we need an override, and probably maybe that's true, you learn, so learning lesson maybe start a little earlier, but, I was like optimistic to say, hey, well, maybe this is, let's wait on some of our
Might need
estimates to come in. I didn't want to get out and I'm so honest and transparent that I didn't want to get out and tell, cry wolf in a sense, right? So to say that we're going to need, 4 million, when in the end it ended up, if it's like 3 million or 2.5 or whatever it might have been. So I think the timing of that retrospectively, I probably would have started a little sooner. But I will say that I was communicating, we're going to need an override for 2 years before the override. So it was the second that I stepped in FY23, my state of the town and my first address to the town meeting was, we're balanced, we'll probably balance next year. We're going to need an override. We will need one, and here's why. These are the things that are putting the budget pressures on. We're gonna try to work on some of this and mitigate what we're looking at, but and maybe we have growth and maybe we have other wins, but I was communicating override openly the whole time that I was in office. And so by the time we needed an override, it really wasn't a surprise. People were talking override, anyway, so I say we should have started sooner, maybe pulling people together. But I think we had a good process. We ended up, I knew I needed the school's numbers. We finally got hammered everything out. December, got their school numbers. January timeframe, we got, more information back. Health insurance, we got a big jump, that was the year we got our hit of a 14.28 increase. So I'm like, well, okay, we definitely need the override between that and the school. So we ended up immediately, I had all departments on deck. We were doing our cut budgets just to say what would we be, A, without an override, so we can present that, B, with an override. And we were presenting to the finance committee, well, not finance, advisory board at the time. Initially, the override budget, but cut budget, I said the cut budget will be coming after, and then we timed our votes and we're organized. So we did very much like, most communities do. We had a 2A, which was our base budget. We had a 2B supplemental. We formulated our ballot question. We had all those votes taken by the select board, and that was all set. And, I did multiple public forums. I had everyone at WATD, department heads. We had group things there. We kind of got it out in the media. Wherever we could get it out there, we got it out there, and had multiple public forums and stuff. So, plenty of opportunity to answer questions and lots of presentations. I think we did well at town meeting as well, and, it is what it is, right? It's going to be up to in the end, the people to either pass or not. And so, it didn't go, but we did our cut budget, and we, I immediately went into, implementing those changes, which did, we did some consolidation of positions and, what happened. So reduction in force in some areas. I had already been reducing the budget for a couple of years to balance. So, all of those things, communicating with our advisory board along the way, even in the year we weren't looking for the override, I was like, okay, this is how free cash is created. This is free cash. One of those things is departmental turnbacks. Historically, departmental turnbacks were this. You can see organically with us slicing and dicing, reducing budgets as best as we can, but, still trying to be smart. You got to land above the line. Those turnbacks were reducing, hence it would impact your free cash. So then I would retain and spend less on the warrant to make sure that I retained enough free cash to be healthy every year, understanding that if operational budget-wise we were tight, we still could invest in our capital and put funding in our stabilization accounts, in our reserve accounts. We had policies, and I made sure that we lived by those first, and so we stayed fiscally strong, no matter what, and we can deal with reductions as we deal with reductions. and run it by the people, you know, to see what can you tolerate? What can you tolerate financially, and what can you tolerate service delivery-wise, right? It's a balancing act, it really is, and it's sensitive, and it's not easy, but, yeah. I hope I answered your question on the override.
You did, no, you were great,
Okay.
thank you.
Was it an
Appreciate it.
open town meeting or representative town meeting?
Open.
Open.
Yep. And we had it went really smooth, so thank God, because first time I did an overflow room and all that, but it worked out really well. Actually, people in the overflow room had a better experience almost, I think, than the regular. But it worked out well. We had a really good attendance. You know, past a town meeting, we only lost by maybe 134 votes at the ballot, and, you know,
That was
it
about
is
us.
what it
That's
is.
similar to
That
us.
was similar to us.
Yeah.
Probably
Yep.
67-33 in the room, or 60-40 in the room, and then lost by 80 votes.
Yeah, yeah, it was close.
Yeah, you know, it's okay.
Yep.
Good on that?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so, you know, I don't know exactly what Norwell's town government looks like, but our town administrator wears a lot of hats. We don't have a human resources department per se. So, you know, our human resources, you are the procurement officer, the records request officer, that sort of thing. All comfortable for you?
Yeah, I had all of those hats, and probably a little bit under the town charter, a little bit more control / responsibility. I don't like the word control, a little bit more oversight and direct ability to act in terms of hiring, firing, who directly reported to me. I had a number of people that it was my responsibility to hire, not necessarily under the select boards, but I would, you know, even in that environment, you're always going to run everything. You're never going to do anything autonomously, really. You're going to make sure that that everyone's on board, right? So even with that, it's always a respectful, open process. So I know people get a little afraid of control, you know, one person having too much.
And
but-
public records request and procurement?
Yep,
And
procurement was under me, public records. I did have a consultant that helped me, very low money, but was super helpful, because sometimes you can end up with 3 or 4 RFPs on your desk. That's a complete time consumer, and then you start losing your eye on the ball in other areas. So I did have a person help me with procurement as needed, and we had just a weekly check-in call. Again, it was really low money, but worth it. We'd pull together templates and I went online with everything, because I know when I first stepped in, I was getting requests, you know, looking at analyzing procurement for various things, and I'm like, okay, let's make sure that everything was perfect. So I made sure even before I left that anything I ever touched, we fully audited. I had full electronic file. Everything was in place. So I went with Beacon Bid. It was free, and we were able to get all of our procurement stuff right online. So anyone that wanted to look it up, you can see open and closed bids, and, you know, all of that information out there. It was a real time saver. So there's a few out there that some of them are low money, but I went with the free one at first just to start going electronic. But yes,
Okay.
yep. Records, I will say public records, always would want them to come through my office anyways, press, you know, questions, those types of things. But our records access officer was the town clerk. So she was the person who would receive and then like disperse and track the 10 days. So many towns would have your town clerk as your RAO, but I would be an integral part of the public
And you
record
see that going
requests.
through your office, facilitating through your office?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you describe your management style?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I understand the hierarchy in general of working for people, but I always say I work with people, because that's the case. I don't walk in and exert, you know, hey, I'm the boss, you know, that type of thing. I look at it like I'm coming in and I'm working with other professionals, and every person at the table, whatever their position, brings something to the table. They bring life and work experience and knowledge and all of that. So I'm very respectful, professional. I do have a good sense of humor, so I think that helps. I'm a communicator. I like to bring people together. I absolutely have always problem solved, whatever it may be. Could be a dispute between employees, could be a dispute, could be anything. I bring people together. I will get the story from both sides. I have a pretty good gut and sniffer for, you know, what the deal probably is, and then I will pull people together, collaborate, problem solve, work on projects together. I love to have my department head meetings. I found that other than what was on the agenda for the day, that we really benefited from that. And I got a lot of good feedback from the department heads saying this is really good because, hey, I didn't know when they're going over what's going on in their offices or their departments. I didn't know that was going on. I might be able to get this for you or do that for you. Breaking down those silos in a lot of ways is huge. So, just making sure we have a collaborative team. We have to come to work a set number of hours. We're here sometimes longer than with our families, during the day. So we want a good, working, professional environment. And if something, again, I know if there's a problem, I'm probably going to bring some training in. That's something else I'd probably do right away with regards to proper, handling of HR issues. Please, make sure that we have process, we have labor council, we have, whatever. Make sure that if you have an issue, come and talk to me. I'm here for you. I'm not going to tell you, but I'm going to be here for a resource, to provide you resources, provide guidance, avoid lawsuits as best as we can, avoid settlements as best as we can, or reduce them as best as we can, stop the bleeds. I've saved a lot of money in Norwell beyond what could be tracked just from doing the right thing. So I provide open meeting law trainings. I'll provide trainings on procurement. I had the procurement person come in and provide training, give them resources, get the presentation. So they had all the resources that they needed at their fingertips. Some things for free, where to access, various things and what the laws and the rules were. So I'm kind of big on that. I might bring them into some of my department meetings and say, hey, we're going to go over procurement this month. And then, I had them on the second Thursday of every month. But whatever works for this team, I'll work with them and we'll set it on their calendars and we'll start doing that. And we'll bring them in, and any trainings or anything that some of the boards and committees might say, hey, I'd like to refresher on open meeting law or refresher on, whatever it may be. I'm happy to bring it in, roles and responsibilities and stuff.
So one of the words that's always thrown around a lot in municipal government is transparency. Could you share with us, Darlene, any past, I don't want to say tricks, but past ways that you were able to foster a sense of openness and transparency with the residents, and maybe some ideas that you might be willing to bring over here to Halifax?
Yeah, I think every opportunity when you're in a meeting, depending upon whatever it is, or, is an opportunity to maybe deliver a presentation, take the time to answer a lot of questions. Yeah, I think I've put together like tools to be able to show information that might be a lot, but it's kind of, you need to be able to take a lot of information and put it to something that anybody can understand. And that's not saying, that's just saying people that aren't living in this environment, municipal, finance environment. So I think it's huge to be able to, like, at least visuals are a huge help. Posting things on the web, sitting with your finance team to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're all speaking the same language and understanding the same things. And I just think open communication, sometimes visual tools, posting things on the web, communicating.
Good.
Not necessarily a question, besides maybe just an acknowledgement, but December of 2024, we as a town, rejected the MBTA mandate. Just making sure you're aware of that, and the grants are not available to the town at the moment. Which is a combining factor with limited growth and Prop 2.5 and so forth, but the MBTA is ongoing for us. You're aware of that, I assume.
I'm aware. Again, and I am hesitant to force opinion and in my role, but I will be honest with you as my Darlene's thoughts, okay? I think we need to reapproach this, and you really should pass it, because in all honesty, the state has the absolute authority to do this. They do. As much as we don't like it, and it doesn't feel good, it's a fact. And so at this point, why not take the only control you have, which is where do we want to put it? Why not at least take take the control that you can have under your purview and pick your spot? Otherwise, you're just going to get it. And I know it sounds like a threat, and I know you're in a lawsuit, and we'll see how that rolls out. I don't see it prevailing, to be quite honest with you. I think it's a waste of money. And my biggest question, if I came in here day one, would be, and I've already asked the question of our previous council, but I would ask it on behalf of Halifax, if we pass MBTA, can we still pursue the suit, right? And then have it repealed. We just repeal the zoning overlay. You know, you can go back and you can take that away via town meeting vote too. So why not get your grants? Because, and I know, you know, I don't know the number of bridges and culverts and various things in here, but your infrastructure grants, you know, sidewalks, I don't know, you know, you're probably not maybe too interested in that, but there's a lot of infrastructure grants that are out there, and they're a huge help, especially for a smaller community. Any amount of money that you can get, you don't want to be denied for these grants. It's money that,
Like the TIPS program, it's a huge amount of money that we don't get.
yes, it is, and you're bleeding money legally at this point, and I don't think you're going to be successful, but that's Darlene Sullivan's opinion. I'm not wearing the town administrator hat today. If I was, I'd be a little more reserved in my opinion, to be honest with you. I might give my opinion to you, you know, individually, but in a public setting, it's really up to you, you know, to be voicing that. But if you asked for my guidance behind closed doors, I would be telling you exactly how I felt. I just, I think it's really important. I know you have a planning board, and you may never get a planner, but I do think it's probably important to have a planner in place. They will come in and be of help to the planning board. They can help prepare all of this information. They're the ones who can actually, if passed in the future, seek constant grants if you're able to get grants for various things. If you have a really good planner that has the ability to do so, I know some. So I'm just saying, if you ever wanted a planner, I think it's probably not a bad route to go, but I also don't want to come in to Halifax and make big changes right now. I need to get into the bathtub here and see how it's going, see what Halifax likes and what your temperature is. I need to meet with the planning board and talk to them, just have a conversation with them and get a feel for them. There might be really valid, strong reasons why, just for this example, you don't want a planner, and I would, obviously I'd honor that. I don't have control over it anyways, but I would respect and honor it. I'm a person who, I enjoy the process. I enjoy municipal work. I enjoy the process of getting from here to there, and even just good, respectful dialogue, because everyone learns from that. So
Yeah,
again,
those
I
are
didn't
two
mean to digress too much.
So those are two things we hear a lot about: is the planner, master plan, and then the charter. Two things we don't have.
You can
that,
get grants
you know,
for master plans
Right.
too,
Yeah.
and help get paid.
That's actually earmark, extend the earmark through, so you need to know that. But yeah, just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Yeah,
you know,
I
that's,
am. It's a challenge, but I think it needs to be put forth again. I really have to look at, you know, your plan again, and with all of you, and, you know, have a put. Did you like the plan that was in place? And did the community at the time? I mean, I know that people, I know that everybody, including Norwell, didn't like the feel of it.
I was just going to say, so we had a committee look at it for, well over a year.
18 months anyway.
18 months. And I do think when they were forced to come up with a plan, I think they did a great job of putting together the best plan possible for that situation. I think, Darlene, in this town, though, you'll see we have a hard time when the state tells us to do something.
I get it.
Right? There's a lot of, you know, and the rally cry seemed to be, you know, keep your state money. You know, we'll figure it out ourselves. And you could argue, well, the override didn't pass partly
Okay, well
because
then
we
you
didn't
need
get
to
that
approve
funding.
borrowings.
Yes, right.
You need to
So-
approve borrowings and overrides then.
Sure.
And I know that sounds horrible, but it is the hard to code truth.
Yeah. So I think you'll see, if you are the candidate, there's a lot of folks here in Halifax that don't really want this town to change much.
Yeah.
You know, they want the old, you know, the old Norman Rockwell feel, the farm community kind of feel. But those same folks will be upset as their tax bill slowly creeps up because we don't have much, you know, business growth here in town. So that's kind of the delicate dance that this town is facing. There is development here for the first time in a long time.
I've seen
You know, we
it,
have
yeah.
the condominiums, we have a storage unit, we have a Starbucks now, we have 2 auto stores now. So
Yeah.
you know, Halifax is changing, and a lot of
Yeah.
the older residents, you know, aren't thrilled about their town, but seeing these changes. So that's a bit of the delicate balance of, you know, trying to help with growth, trying to help ease the tax burden for the residents without throwing folks into shock that their small town feel is going away.
Totally respect that.
Yeah.
And I see it from their side as well. I mean, I do, 100%. So, I get it. I really do get it. But again, one way or another, I would prefer to choose my spot as opposed to have it shoved down my throat
You're right.
later.
That's to where.
That is the message, because it's it's going to happen. So
Yep.
I'd rather pick the spot, and then guess what? They still have to go through,
All your
wastewater,
regulatory
all the
rules.
regulatory stuff. So, and it's exceptionally hard to build in. The soils are horrible. There's a ton of wetland. So regardless of even, where we picked an area kind of near the highway, it would be walkability and all that stuff, but, tough to build in general, anyways. And, so is the reality of it really going to happen? I mean, I saw the number of units for Halifax, over 700 units.
750.
750 is what they were looking at. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. That's scary when you hear that number, but pick your spot and see if it can come to fruition or not. If not, it could go multiple spots in town. And I hate saying that, because then sometimes what comes back is, public media or social outcry from that statement could be, oh, those are scare tactics, but it's really not. It's just speaking the truth directly.
Yep.
So if we selected you, what would you like to accomplish in your first three months?
My first 3 months, and I might add another week or two on to my timeline to you, because I have to meet with each of the departments. I really need to meet with them, and I need to get a temperature and talk about everything, their operations, what's working, what's not, where are they feeling pains, are they fully staffed? I don't think police and fire are right now at this point. Are they? Not yet,
Police
no.
is hurting, fire's hurting.
Okay.
We're looking for
So,
folks.
what's going on, how are you feeling, what are the implications of that, like all of that. So I need to meet with each department head. I want to really meet with all the boards and committees. I'm going to pop in, even if it's a small committee, like I'll make my way. Those ones may happen later in the year, but I'm going to make sure I'm in. I've met every committee and board member that there is out there. Because A, I appreciate the time that they're taking to volunteer, and B, it gives me a better feel for what's going on in town, what's important to people. But in terms of the first 3 months, I'd like to meet with everyone in the first couple of weeks, depending upon their schedules, at least for the department heads. The committees, I'll go with according to their schedule. I'm going to be working on the budget immediately. I'm going to be getting that data dump week 1. I'll work with Lindsay. I have to say, to pause for a minute and say shout out to Lindsay, because God bless her, she's been wearing a lot of hats, answering a lot of questions that aren't even under her purview, but she's doing a really nice job trying to answer those questions. I have a lot of respect for that. So I will come in, and I won't overwhelm your staff, but I will absolutely start working on that budget, because that's going to be telling. It's going to drive everything. We have to have a really good idea of what's going on and what's going to happen. So my first 3 months is the budget, the town meeting that's potentially coming up, if it hasn't been voted on yet, but I had heard that you probably haven't one. So town meeting, budget, and getting to know, listening to the town, and listen to the department heads. And I have an open door. I always leave my door open. It's an open door policy. Residents can come by as well. And if my door's shut, it's because I have to put my head down and work on something where I've got to get that project done for a couple hours. But I'll open that door back up, and I'll communicate with Pam, and we'll be, if I'm the right candidate, a good working team. You'll know what's going on for my day, and no surprises, and never any surprises for the board either. So, yeah, I would never embarrass you. I would always make sure you're up to date on everything. And I'll lean into you. There's times I may just pick up the phone and call, and I may get to know each of you. So you might have strengths in other areas, and I might go, I'm going to call Bill, but what are your thoughts on such and such? I'm going to lean in for guidance on some things or various things, and it may just depend on the subject matter too. So I might call. I'm going to be calling you guys. It won't be ringing off the hook, but I'll be talking to you. Yeah.
Good.
I guess I just have one more. In your letter, which I hope it's okay to reference this, I did like it, and it's true. I just wanted to maybe just have you expand upon it just a tiny bit. We need someone at the moment who's going to do more than keep the lights on.
Yeah.
A steady ship is terrific, but there are some fundamental things that are going on, money we talked about tonight, that we need more than just a steady hand.
Yeah.
We need progress, we need movement, we need resolution. So when Bill references 3 months, which is perfectly legitimate and good, we're talking about September 1 theoretically through June 30, which is 10 months. We're looking for someone to hit the ground fast, move and resolve issues, and cross things off the list.
Yep.
So that whether it's you or somebody else or the interim who becomes a permanent or an interim who bows out in June, we need to be better off today
Yeah.
then than we are today. So
Yeah.
things need to get resolved.
Yep.
So I just wanted to, I noted that in the letter, I like the wording, and I just wanted, your acknowledgement here that we need more than that is
do.
the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a worker by nature, so if you can't tell from, I'm trying so hard to not talk super fast, right? By nature, I have a lot of energy. I will be working on, I'll probably have 10 emails on my screen, more than on my screen at the same time. I'm working on things, getting things done all day long.
Sure.
So
Yep.
I am a taskmaster. If I'm running into an issue and it's getting delayed, I'll talk to you. I'll say, hey, listen, this is taking all my time up right now. The procurement's tough. That can really be a cog in the wheel. The public record request can be a cog. If we could talk about, I don't want to, again, I want to come into the water first, and I don't want to, shift just because I've done something doesn't mean it's right for Halifax. But, I wouldn't mind asking if the town clerk might want to be the records access officer, just to receive and to delegate and to track the 10 days. Because I don't want to be out of compliance, and I know how busy a town administrator's job is. So that is something that could fall off the radar, and then I won't sleep at night. So, certain things I may lean into and see and get a feel for those staff members, get a feel for where you're at with that, and see if if they wouldn't mind helping with that. And I'd still be having my hands in it, making sure everything's done. But
And then maybe just one more, just
those
dovetailing
things
off
will hold
that.
you up.
What were the hours? Not that I would expect you to know per se, but town hall is closed here on Fridays. I don't know if that's the same in every town or not, but we're generally open Monday through Thursday. I don't know what you would have in mind for a potential work schedule.
I just work I would work your town hall hours plus.
Okay. I just think, that's something I think, previous candidates for interims and otherwise may have said, we can be here Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesdays are tough for me. I don't know that we could be in that
I'm going to
position.
commit as if I'm
Okay.
a full-time TA
don't wanna
while
speak
I'm
for you
here.
guys, but that's-
I don't think you can get it done. If I was doing that model, then my answers would be totally different about my 3 months and my budget timeline.
Okay.
And actually about my priorities. Honestly, it would just be the town meetings and the budget, and, maybe a few other
Sure.
things. We'll get the MBTA, we'll get a couple of big things out of the way, whatever you want. But no, I'm going to be here and dedicate my time.
Sure.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay. That's all I have.
I'm good.
No, same. No.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how would you define success in the next, let's say, 6 months or so? That you would say, boy, okay, I'm glad that the TA is doing a good job, because, what are your priorities in terms of, things that are a win to you for your TA?
It's a good one. How long you got? I'll go first.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said, just crossing some things off the list. We seem to be adding more to the plate than we seem to be crossing off the list. And I don't need to maybe
Yeah.
delve into too many specifics, but there's ongoing litigation in several different areas. There's ongoing issues in town with, between departments. There's department heads that are, struggling with certain residents. There's a lot of, seems to be combative action, and not much is getting crossed off. I'm not blaming anybody or saying anybody's wrong about it. We don't have too much division. We do have 2-to-1 votes, but the town seems a little divided. The override was close. That was a very divisive vote.
Yeah.
I don't know that the boards and committees have division, but I would, in general, think that certain things, we had a much better special town meeting in July than we had a regular town meeting in May.
Good.
I'd like to see momentum being carried on to have a successful special town meeting if it materializes in November with a earlier budget schedule that I think the finance committee would endorse and be thankful for. I don't want to speak for Jim or his crew, but a smoother budget process with more transparency, with more lead up to the town meeting, more communication with residents, and a smooth town meeting in May. Whether an override's on there or not, a debt exclusion's on there or not, however that vote goes is
Right.
immaterial to your position or this position and our board. But I think the communication and the process can be improved.
Yeah.
And then I would just like to see certain things crossed off. I don't know what I prioritize of the top 3 or 4 things I'd cross off, but it seems that we're adding to the list rather than subtracting.
Do you feel like some of the litigation and maybe issues in town, without divulging too much, do you think that it's surrounding? Is the extra tension related to just a couple of things, or is it kind of all over the place? Because if so, maybe I speak with the people who are the angriest or the most upset and see if there's, I
I
don't
mean,
know
I
if
think,
there's anyone.
generally speaking, I think there's several larger ones that are
Right.
more time-consuming and more expensive than others
Yeah,
in general.
okay.
I guess, yeah, just my summary
Has-
with that question, it's a good question. I would just, big picture, smoother process in the lead up to the town meeting.
Okay,
Town meeting that's, organized and professionally run. Something that the residents can be proud of and say that this board, this person, we're ready. And then just crossing things off the list. And I don't know what I'd prioritize there. I can get you a list. But,
how long have you had your town moderator?
This is
Seven?
second year. I think he's got one more year left on his current term.
I was gonna say 7, so do you think 6, do you think 5?
I'm thinking he already did 3, and then he's on his.
I think it's the last year coming up.
So 4 or 5, 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that's key too, to having a smooth meeting.
Yeah.
It's a business meeting with the community, and it needs to be run, really organized and controlled, but, controlled but not controlling the people, the voices, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
ordered,
Just needs to be organized, and confidence needs to be instilled, and rules need to be laid out, and all of that stuff. So I'm sure, some of that happens, but, okay, just,
What do you think,
I'll,
Jill, you want to go?
What
I got a couple. Go ahead.
I think good communication so that we don't get blindsided with anything. And the second thing is town meeting, that we're well prepared, that things aren't changed at the last minute, that we're given papers to read, and that we weren't given the correct information, we read it.
Yeah.
It's got to be
you-
all on
yeah,
the same page, everyone together, well prepared.
yeah.
Like smooth as silk going into a town meeting.
Yeah, we shouldn't be tweaking numbers
On the
after
floor.
that's
Yeah.
been blessed. It's
Yeah.
done.
Well, even now,
Yeah.
when the warrant goes out, if you're gonna change the verbiage in the warrant, it's gotta be the same. You can't change
Yeah.
it at the last minute. And
Yeah.
It's gotta, that's my big thing.
Maybe starting that process sooner and working with council.
Well, the
make sure
January,
everything's
February timeline
blessed.
is
Yeah, I like that.
That might help.
significantly earlier.
That may
than
help.
we're used to.
Yep.
You just find with that, Darlene, and I know like you're waiting on school numbers, a lot of times, so
Yeah.
their timeline's a little bit later than ours. So I did seem like usually our municipal budget is done and in the can, ready to roll. And I don't want to say we're twiddling our thumbs, but we are kind of waiting a little bit for the school numbers to firm up, just because the state hasn't given, all the numbers that they need to.
Mm-hmm.
We also have 2 different school budgets.
Yeah,
Right,
we're a
right.
regional
Does-
school.
That's different for me,
Just
but
does
I get it.
complicate
It's one's an
things.
Yeah.
assessment, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just acknowledging that.
Am I part, I say me, but
Yeah.
I would have been in another world, but am I part of a team that communicates frequently with the
Regional.
Regional Civil League?
So I think when
one of
Steve and
you.
our current one left, they had set up a once-a-month meeting
Yeah.
with administration over there, just to touch base. View from 10,000 feet, how are things going, budgetarily, just trying to keep that line of communication open.
Have they given you detailed budgets, like okay,
No.
we'll get that.
No,
Well, we'll be looking at that
no.
too, so, well, if I am the candidate.
So, certain things have happened in the last 30
I'd
days
like
that
a
we've
voice-
asked for some
a
changes
voice,
to
yeah.
be happening moving forward. But, yeah.
A voice at the table, or at least a voice at the table, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a finance committee member or in-town administrator or whatever, we can communicate back, but it's important, it's a big assessment, and so,
the
we should be able to
biggest.
see, all the details and understand, how they're, which I'm sure it's all laid out, because it typically is, and I'm sure it's above board, but, we want to look at how are they assessing us, and is it fair, and is it equal, is it good, do the numbers look good? So, I'm sure it's looked at, but I will definitely be looking at that too. So, yeah.
So,
The other thing
one
is-
thing, I have a little small list, not crazy. One thing that we haven't discussed, Darlene, is, and I do feel like it's kind of a hot button in this town, are our bylaws.
Yeah.
They are antiquated, many of them antiquated at best. They can be confusing, they can be contradictory. We did have a committee look at proposing some bylaw changes was that 2 years ago, guys?
It was in conjunction, it was going to be in conjunction
With the MBTA?
vote,
Right.
and they didn't get the endorsement of the planning board, so they pulled.
So they
it was
pulled the
it was
recommendation,
It
right.
was pulled and
So-
tabled.
So unfortunately, a lot of times here in Halifax, it's like, well, why do you do that? And it's like, well, that's just kind of always how we've done it, So I would look to hopefully modernize, and I'm not saying modernize the town, but just streamline some of the, I don't want to say antiquated, but streamline some of the bylaws a little bit, get up to the times with a master plan, just something that is forward-thinking.
Yeah.
I do feel like a lot of times here in Halifax, we're very reactionary. You know, we don't really have a forecasted long-term plan. And I don't know if it's maybe because our town, as Tom said, our town administrator wears a lot of hats.
Right.
So it's maybe, do they not have the bandwidth to get into forecasting, to get into thinking ahead so that we're not so reactionary as a town? So I know this is much, bigger than the first 6 months, but if we could get into a scenario where we have a path, we have a smoother, well thought out, forecasted path,
Yeah.
that the residents are involved in, that everybody has a say in, so that things don't catch us unawares and we're not, we got another auto parts store going in, or there's,
Yeah.
to your
Yeah.
point about a planner, and I know that's planning
Well,
board
you're a
stuff.
zoning
Yeah.
officer too, right? You just gotta
Right,
get-
right. So that would be my thing is, there has been some growth, smart growth, and more streamlined and modernized and organized government function.
Feel free to, I want to come back to shared costs, if you want to, I'm going to just write that down, so don't forget to touch back on that for budget, but fixed costs, but speaking about your bylaws and speaking about updating zoning or zoning maps, or
Sure.
do we need a new wireless overlay district? Do we need, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable answering this, I feel like a planner could be a game changer that would work tight with your zoning enforcement officer. That's the person that's going to be at their desk, and they're going to take maybe a bylaw at a time, or even as an issue, you go, wait a minute, okay, this needs to be cleaned up. Maybe even something's changed under Mass General laws. I'm assuming that those things have been incorporated if there's been updates or changes in certain things, but it's something to look at. We kind of grab the ones that maybe are most frequent or maybe most impactful or could be most impactful, work on those first, take a look, make sure that they're good, they're buttoned up, they fit for Halifax, get them in front of everybody, talk it out, make sure it makes sense to everybody, and if so, we'll get it forward to town meeting and have the people vote. Some of them are no-brainers probably, that the folks would probably be happy with, if something you find that, but you do need someone moving that needle. I have to say we put forth a lot of different updates, but again, we had a planner that was looking at it, and we had a pretty involved ZBA person as well, so that's where it came from, but it wasn't, I don't know what your feelings are on that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be
need to learn
opposed.
more
I don't want to
history.
speak for the board. I wouldn't be opposed, but I think we'd need someone to make sure that we could afford it.
Yeah.
We need somebody to look at the budget. That's
Yeah.
wants and needs.
Gotcha.
No,
I get it.
that unfortunately right now I think is a want. But if we can swing it, I think I'd be all for it.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is tangentially related, but Jerry Joy from the zoning board and part of that bylaw review committee, he's asking us to review, shortly, to get that bylaw review, or the bylaw review committee back together, which we'll be taking up shortly, to move that work along, to put it to the vote.
Do you know if some of the ones that they came up with before were implemented, or are they still kind of hanging out there? Maybe they could be moved?
They're still hanging out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so they could be looked at.
Yeah, we have his work. It didn't get thrown away, so we still have that paper and that stuff that they did for a year and a half. I think the idea going forward, we were looking at kind of reigniting the zoning bylaw review committee again to again kind of comb through.
And the goal from Jerry's point of view,
Yeah.
Jerry is a member of the bylaw review committee. He also
Yeah.
sits in the ZBA. His goal was to have that on the town meeting in May.
In May.
Oh, good.
For presentation,
Okay.
as a warrant article.
And you bring up a good point. I bring up a planner, but we have talented people in this town that are volunteering. If you have talented folks on finance, or talented folks on planning, and talented folks on that bylaw committee, you may not need the planner if there's some energy and some knowledge and someone willing to spend the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the challenge is change.
Yeah, they
A
do.
lot of moving targets.
Yeah, the challenge is change in town. A
You
lot
have
of
to
folks,
change.
no matter what, they don't.
They,
don't want it.
every day they change.
They don't want it.
And I won't lie, the town administrator gets, you're dealing with so many different topics in one day, which makes it fun, actually. That's why the work's fun.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you can be drowning some days. I did want to circle back really quick, if it's okay, to shared costs. So one thing I did with, because we talked about the school budget, right? Oh, we got to wait on the number, and that's prior to my tenure, was like, stick to this percent, or there really wasn't, if the school needed a certain amount of money, we would back into on our, on the town side and with all the shared costs, the remaining, right? So when I first took it over. So I kind of blew it all up. And I'm not the only town that's done this. I looked at models that I liked, and I went, okay, I'm doing that, because what I did was looking at a budget really quick, because it's going to tie all back to the school budget. And I'll build good relationships with the school. Those are the folks that I'm going to be reaching out to immediately as well, both schools, elementary and in the regional. So it would basically look like you've got your revenues up top, like you've always seen. In the middle, then you have your, subtotal of your, gross revenues. Take your offsets, your cherry sheet offsets, and various things. Then you have your subtotal of your net revenue right there. Underneath that, I broke out shared costs. Things that were shared town and school. So health insurance, pension, because we had employees that aren't necessarily under mass teacher there. Mass teacher retirement comes off your cherry sheets. That's part of your offsets, so that's still an expense to you. I had a good number of shared expenses. The life insurance, your liability costs, those types of things. So, I broke out the shared, and that gave us our true net revenue for our departmental budgets. Regardless how you slice it, those bills have to be paid. There were obligations, and below that was our departmental budget, dollars. That gave me a really good picture on what we had available for the schools and what we had available for the towns at that point. Did we even need an override at this point? How are we doing? We had increases, our fixed costs in Norwell, almost $20,000, 18 million. I think yours might have been 4 or 6 or something, a different scale, but they were growing. And so when it looked like the budgets were, it's like 50-50, I'm like, no, it's really 70-30, that's what it is, in the end. So, and if we didn't break it out, you can't go back really once you're there. It's hard to go backwards from those percents, right? You don't want to cripple the schools either and stuff. But it was important to know that, because at least the invisible bleed was gone in that sense, and I knew. So I knew when the school would tell me, hey, not sure, but I'm thinking I'm going to need such and such. I'm going to you might need an override. And not to say I went united front with the override that we went forward with, but this previous fiscal year, we were balanced, and they needed more money than what we had, and I said, you may need an override for the school. It wasn't a lot of money, but we're balanced at this point. I don't have the money to give you, or not to say the finance, we don't have the money to give you. You need to find savings, or we lucked out. We ended up getting a little bit more local aid. I came in better on the health insurance increase than what was budgeted. So sometime in February, I went, hallelujah, we don't need an override. Yeah. But it is what it is sometimes.
Was Norwell GIC?
No, well, I shouldn't say they're not. We had Maya. We have group insurance. I think you're under Mayflower, which is also great. But the GIC piece was just our retired municipal teachers. Yeah. So we would get our assessment that way. So our retired municipal teachers were under the GIC. So.
Good.
I'm okay.
I'm okay. Yeah. No, great. Excited.
Do you have anything else for us, Darlene?
No, I just want to make sure that I deliver for you from the candidate, and I understand some of your priorities for sure. I noted them down, and I'm a worker, so we'll try to cross some stuff off the list. If I need some support with conversations, if there's some issues that are just not going away, and sometimes we find that they're not even our issue, then I may need some support in just being a good communicator and being strong about it in a polite way, and ending the madness if that's the case with some of this. But I don't know the situation, so I can't really answer to that. So.
Okay. Yeah. If chosen, just before we get into any discussion here, potential start date, what would you be generally looking at as a timeline for yourself?
So, we were saying September 1st, but I'm feeling so bad because I know how it's a tidal wave every day, really. So I would start onboarding immediately. So we'll get the paperwork done. I'll start onboarding immediately. I will be available right away for calls and those types of things. And, you know, if I need to start a little earlier, I will. And I don't have to be on the clock for it in that sense, you know what I mean? Just I want to be available beforehand. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Does the board, I mean, I'm thankful for the interest, the mutual
Yeah.
interest, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of good experience, recent experience. A lot of things I liked. I won't talk about them all. I think one of the best things, one of the good examples was not leaving Norwell high and dry with 6 months
Yeah.
notice. My intention is to, sunset this opportunity in June and move on, which allowed them a path forward to plan and not be caught off guard, which I appreciate.
Yep.
I like the thought that this interim position would handle theoretically September 1st through June 30 to get us through two critical things, some
Yeah.
sustain some momentum and so forth. So I'm very pleased with the outcome of tonight. I don't know if you guys want to weigh in at all. Or...
Bill, you got anything?
I'm just very happy with it.
And we'll talk. Maybe we
Yeah.
talk in December, January, and say, how's it going? How are you feeling about it? How are the people feeling? And if it's going great, I would extend if that was the case. And if it was like, hey, you've done great, but we do want to put the feelers out, absolutely.
Sure.
I will give you 150% of my best work through June 30th, and I'll make sure that you get the best person here, and I'll transition and give them whatever they need to be successful. I would, no matter what, by June 30th, whether I'm here or not, I'd like to leave you with some policies, get them implemented, some reserve and stabilization, some financial policies, debt management. I will see what you already have and work with the finance committee on that. And get those policies in place, because they're important. They're your guardrails, they're your benchmarks for people looking at the town of Halifax for various reasons. And it's helpful because we're gonna do a transfer of $100,000 to stabilization. Well, how are we looking with our balance? Are we within our percent margin of our general operating budget? If we're within, then, and if we don't need to put it in this year, fine. Like, it's important to have those things, and we would give annual updates to make sure, just to policy updates. So I'd like to leave with policy, I'd like to leave you with a budget forecast, and put a positive stamp in those areas, regardless of anything. So those are my two big things that I'd love to leave for Halifax.
I mean, I'll be quite frank, I'm very excited because I think I've been a selectman for 6 years. Your resume is the most extensive and impressive in municipal work that I've seen for any candidate that's come across our desk in my time here. So fingers crossed that things work out, that you like us, that we like you. Fate is a funny thing.
It is.
Just how things work out. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping this is the universe pushing and pulling with this, and I'm hopeful. So
Thank you.
It's great.
It would be a nice opportunity. It's just different. It's nice to, change is good sometimes.
Yeah.
It really is. And I appreciate that. I can absolutely help your finance team. I get it from transactionally up. So if they have an issue, they can come to me.
Just like a future question, when you were in Norwell, were you part of any big projects like infrastructures, like police station, the fire station? Those are brand
Yeah.
new. During your tenure, would that happen?
All of it happened. So I was there for the library. I did all that borrowing. I actually strategically, I was watching the rates, and so and I knew what our local share would probably be after grants and all. After grants came in, and we had a liquidating ban, but we borrowed it almost next to nothing % for a big chunk of that library. We owned about a little over $8 million out of a $15 million. We got a library reimbursement grant. But so I was behind the scenes for the police station, for the library. I was I was in it for the highway building and for the town hall. So I did the entire town hall, and also I was there for every one of those construction meetings. We pulled the trigger. We moved in one day. It was smooth. It was really a great experience. It was a lot of work, but you learn a lot. So I was,
They're beautiful buildings, they really are.
yeah.
You did some nice work, yeah.
It is. Thank you so much. I'm very proud of.
Little feather in your cap.
Yeah, I'm proud of that town hall too. You walk through, it feels a little different because it felt different in the first place. There's some unique aspects of that building, but it's beautiful. And we made a town hall, out of that building, and I'm proud of it. And the people are really happy, and so that was a win. So I've been part of projects. I can work with the best contractors there are. I can work with the worst contractors there, and trust me, we'll get them to do work. I can have those conversations. So I welcome it. I welcome a challenge. If I'm starting to feel like this, I'm going to speak up. I may need resources, and we'll see if we have funding for resources. I am so fiscally conservative, and I want to use the word, cheap, not cheap to the point where you're not doing things with quality manner, but I'm always conscious of the dollars, so. But if something's worth it, and it's low money, and it's going to help take some pressure off, probably me and Pam, actually, in the office, then I may lean into you. That procurement may be helpful, and I'll get you some dollars on that. If that's the case, it probably would fit under the budget, I imagine. If not, I'll cut somewhere else.
I will say, full disclosure, some of our more recent town administrators, that has been kind of their, not complaint, but wow, you're asking a lot of the town administrator with not a ton of support and staff, so.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I throw that out.
But it happens.
You waited an hour and 14 minutes.
I know. I just, no, not at all. But to Darlene's point,
Yeah.
if there's a way that it makes, financially makes sense and can just be more efficient and maybe bring more grant money in the door, pay for itself kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's where the communication works both ways. I mean, like you said, if you're starting to go this way and you feel like you're spinning
Yeah.
your wheels and not making, let's have a conversation, not,
Yeah.
but let's talk about it. Let's see if there's avenues for escape rather than having it snowball and compound and
Yeah.
have frustration overwhelm. That's not gonna,
100%.
That's not going to be good for anybody.
I'm such
you
a-
or us or the town. or-
I'm a very straightforward
Yeah.
person. I'm a straight shooter, and I will totally just talk with you guys
Yeah.
as openly as I am right now. So,
Good.
And you'll know where I'm at. If I'm feeling it, I'm going to tell you guys. I'm working I worked all weekend. I worked Friday, and I'm drawing them right now. I'm going to tell you.
Good.
And if things are going to, I don't want things to fall behind. So major things won't. I'm not going to let anything slip through the cracks. But I want to be responsive. I'm one of those people. I don't want people waiting on a phone call back or anything like that. So I'm going to try to I want to do it all, right? So I've got to lean in, and it's me and you, Pam, and if it's me and you, but I've got professionals in lots of other corners, so I know how to delegate problems to the right people, right, too, as well. So and lean into you guys when
And you also have an experience with a lot of resources from Norwell, from your recent experience,
Yeah.
other departments, other people in your network.
Yeah, I've
so.
got a good group of, good network out there from my entire municipal career, and a lot of great people out there that are willing to help, so, and have a lot of respect.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
so
Great.
I don't know, I guess I'll just take the lead.
Sure, go
All right,
for it.
I will entertain or make, I guess I will make a motion that the Halifax Board of Selectmen appoint Darlene Sullivan as our interim town administrator to be effective as soon as possible, pending successful contract negotiations.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous, 3-0. So
Well, thank you.
thank you very much for your time.
Yay. Let's go.
I guess we can,
Didn't know that would happen this evening, so.
Yes.
we'll
Thank
shake
you.
hands in 1 second if that's okay.
Yeah.
But the second and the last agenda item on this is the board will now enter into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel for the interim town administrator position.
Okay.
So, and I will also just add on to that we will not return to open session this evening. So the three of us and Pam will excuse ourselves shortly.
Yep.
And we thank you certainly for your time and your interest tonight. And I would echo Jonathan's thoughts on the extensive resume and experience. And I think that
Thank you.
I think you are ready to do more than keep the lights on. So.
I am sorry for the timing of this,
No.
that you missed the ceremony.
Oh, that's
down
okay.
the
That's
street.
okay.
No,
But
we all
thank
had
you.
things this week.
We had this
Yeah.
on the books before that was on the
I know,
books,
it's
so.
so tough.
Yeah, not great, but
Yeah.
certainly thinking of that still. But yeah, all good, onward and upward. I think we're okay here.
Yep.
Yep, just make
So
that vote.
I will make a motion that we now adjourn into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call vote, Jonathan?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And myself, Tom, is a yes. We are 3-0 to adjourn into executive session.